Oh yeah, wake up, yeah, burgers for the boys. Don't know why I thought of saying that at the beginning of the video, but you know how we do it on these videos. We just say anything. But yeah. I was watching Creator Collections, Julian's video, and I came past something that not even I was very aware of. And so yeah, I'm doing a video about it. I will link Julian's video in the description, and also I'll do an end screen and so you can see the actual video I got this idea from. But we're seeing now 4K versus 4K. And it's kind of interesting because Jurassic Park, Julian talked about Jurassic Park coming out on a re-release. Now, I did hear about the issues with this one back in 2018 when I bought it. I knew there were issues about DNR being used, digital noise reduction. Obviously, Jurassic Park was shot on film. So when you buy a film, you want it to have the original look. You don't want it to be too altered. You don't want too many details scrubbed, as they call it. And that's what happens with DNR. A lot of things with detail get scrubbed. So when I talk about DNR, I'm talking about a digital layer is put over the top to remove what's called grain. And a lot of people love that sharp look in these day and age. They like to see something that was shot like it was yesterday. The Avatar look, you know, they want to see something very digital. But with a film like Jurassic Park, the aura of it being shot on film adds to the film. And so when you go and do something like DNR, it can make people look like wax figures almost. Now, that is something I have been very, very vocal about with Terminator 2. Terminator 2 had DNR and also colors were changed and liberties were taken with this film. So when I look at films like this could do with a re-release if done correctly. But we're starting to see the whole dilemma of re-releasing films now with Dolby Vision, now with all these added bonuses. I have another 4K over here that it's very highly ranked in my collection. It's a turbine steel book. This didn't have Dolby Vision when it came out. This was the German release, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now I know there was a Dolby Vision release that came after it. I think this one was just a direct scan of the 16mm film. So I think this one is pretty aligned with what I would want for a film. So I didn't go and recollect the 4K with Dolby and all that stuff. Now, given it would look nice if I had the Dolby version, but for me, it just seemed unnecessary to upgrade this version, because if you're playing 4K versus 4K, hey, Dolby Vision versus no Dolby Vision, you know, you're having all these little dilemmas. Now, given I heard from Julian's video that this has DTX Dolby Atmos, so I think this has Dolby Atmos on it. But I was saying, and I said this in the comments of Julian's video, is there truly a definitive version of Jurassic Park? Because we are seeing now where they will hold back features to have another release coming up. It's why with Star Wars, for example, a lot of people are starting to get excited because we're probably going to have a remaster of this for an anniversary of the original 1977. That's one thing to shut down the piracy networks as well, by all fairness. But you're going to start seeing now these versions go against the Disney versions, which go against Lucas's vision and all this other stuff, going back to 1977. And then what's the true definitive version with that, you know? But when we think of Jurassic Park, there's something that is behind the camera here. I'm just going to step off camera and grab it real quickly because I think it could be of interest to some of you. So I've got it in my hand right now. I'm looking at it. And that's this version on DVD of Jurassic Park. And people who know this version will know what the difference is between this and the 4K version. Now, this is not as good as the Laserdisc. So let me say that right now. The people who know what this is know that it's not as good as the Laserdisc version. But what it is it's as good as I can get on something that doesn't need a big, massive Laserdisc player. It's the most accessible that I can rip and put on a hard drive, essentially, and watch. This is the DTS audio. This has what would have been heard in the cinemas in 1993 when it came out. So for me, this is the definitive version in terms of audio, because they've never taken the audio from this and re-put it onto the DVDs, Blu-rays, 4Ks beyond this one. Now, given everyone says the Laserdisc is the best version, the Laserdisc is the way you want to hear Jurassic Park. That is the definitive way to hear Jurassic Park if you're not in the cinemas in 1993. So this is what I'm talking about. Is the new remaster, the 2025 remaster of Jurassic Park, this is the 2018 remaster, is the 2025 remaster even worth it? Because you know at some point they're going to say, oh, well, now we're going to move the original DTS audio across, and it's a new remaster, and now it's definitive. This is where we start getting into the dilemma of 4K versus 4K. And it's getting a bit ridiculous. And I know I say this in a lot of videos these days, but it is getting a bit ridiculous. You know, DVD versus 4K is one thing. 4K versus 4K? It's starting to push a bit of a boundary of, if you just bought your shiny new 4K Jurassic Park, you just bought this, whatever. Now there's an upgraded version of it, and they're saying, now this is the definitive. Now, they did that with Star Trek as well. They did that with Star Trek, where they had a box set of Star Trek. And I'll just pull that off the shelf, because I need to explain it here. Oh no, that's the Next Generation, so we'll put the Next Generation back. And I'll show you what happened. So they came out with this box set. They came out with the original 4 movies, and obviously, you know, with Star Trek, I think it went up to number 6 with Kirk, maybe number 7, because it had Generations. Kirk was in Generations. But with Star Trek in particular, they held back other movies, and also in, I believe, the one with 6 movies, or even the American version, they had the TV version of this, the original motion picture. So there are different versions that are like, oh, if you had held off, you could have got the better version with the other versions in it. And then you start saying, oh, well, I just bought this one. Why would I go out and re-buy the same thing? And they've done that again and again and again in 4K, to essentially where you're playing off 4K versus 4K. And I'll show you with Rocky, because that's a prime example of what they did. They held back Rocky up to Rocky 4. When they put out this box set, it was up to Rocky 4. They didn't put Rocky 5 in there. They didn't put Rocky Balboa. And Creed is its own standalone, so I understand Creed not being in there. But seriously, not having Rocky 5 in here. Now, I know Stallone says, oh, Rocky 4 was the last real Rocky movie for me. But it doesn't matter. There is still a 5th Rocky movie and a 6th one with Rocky Balboa. Put it in the box set, you know. You're calling this the Knockout Collection, okay? But this obviously annoyed a lot of people, because this was done as like, oh, why wouldn't you just put Rocky 5 in there? And we all knew what it was. We all knew exactly what it was. It was, they wanted to cash in on another thing, another release. So people either held off the Rocky collection, waited for the next release or the individuals, or they just bought this one and said, that's good enough. Now, I'm one of the people who said, that's good enough for me. I mean, I have number 5 on Blu-ray somewhere. And really, how often am I watching number 5 or Rocky Balboa? Really, how often am I bringing that off my shelf and saying, I'm going to watch those two? If I'm going to watch Rocky, I'm going to watch Rocky 1, you know? So there's this whole dilemma of 4K versus 4K. And companies know what they're doing. Don't get any mistake. Companies know what they're doing. Re-releasing Jurassic Park. Now, given there was a lot of fan outrage about Jurassic Park because of DNR, and also I think they took a bit of liberties with the colours as well, similar to what happened with Terminator 2. It's very similar. But with Jurassic Park, really, it's going to start making people doubt whether they should upgrade to this version, because as I said, you might upgrade to the 2025 version and say, oh, well, now I have Jurassic Park on 4K, it's fixed the DNR issues, it's fixed this and that. But then where's the DTS audio? Where is that original DTS sound that was in Jurassic Park in the 90s? Where's the Laserdisc audio? Because people still stand by the Laserdisc audio. It's why the Laserdiscs are so highly sought after. The DTS Laserdiscs, not the standard editions, but like, if you want to hear Jurassic Park, the fans will still pay $1,000 for a Laserdisc of Jurassic Park because of that sound. So this is what I'm talking about. Is there truly a definitive edition out there of Jurassic Park? Now, I know people have went back and sourced from the original negative. I know people have done the same thing they did with Star Wars. Go out and buy a film reel, scan it themselves, put the sound to it off the, I think it was on CDs originally, so I think people have actually bought the DTS CDs that were played in the cinemas, repaired them, and then now you have a definitive one out there on the internet. But is that really what we're getting to, where piracy is starting to outplay 4K? Like, this is a bit ridiculous, you understand? When I'm paying for a 4K release, I'm expecting to get the best possible version of a movie, not the phone-in of, like, you know, with this one. I bought this when it first came out, like really early on. This was probably one of my first 4K Blu-rays. May have even been the first 4K Blu-ray I bought. But when I bought this, I'm expecting it to be like, okay, it's not going to be great, but it's 4K. And I still have the DVDs somewhere here. I still have the the DVDs here. I still have the Blu-ray somewhere here. So there are other versions, and the Blu-rays were not perfect either, but if it's all you have, it's all you have. Like, there's nothing wrong with the Blu-rays, really. At the end of the day, you're watching a film that you love, and it's a representation of a film you love. That's why you buy physical media, because you love Jurassic Park, you love Terminator 2, And then when people change it or hold back features or change details even, I've brought this one out a lot, Lord of the Rings. People do not like this version of Lord of the Rings on 4K because they put a haze over like the flashback scenes and change like the flashbacks. So it's more evident that you're watching a flashback, because I don't know why they needed to do it, but really, this is not holding up in terms of going against the DVDs. People are sticking to the DVDs because they're like, there's too much we're giving up in this release. Legolas, I mean, he always looked kind of waxy, but like the DNR done to these movies, digital noise reduction, is a bit extensive. And it doesn't really fit with the vibe of Lord of the Rings that was shot on film. And I get it. I get it. The special effects and all that, you can't really upscale that to 4K. I know they don't really play well, if you have a better word. But also the special features, they hold back special features of these things. This is the dynamic I'm talking about. So what do you guys think? I will link Julian's video in this because I think it's important that you hear what Julian has to say. I'll put it at the end of this video in the end screen. But what do you guys think? Because it's a very interesting topic, and I want to know what you have to think. Are you running out, if you bought the 2018 Blu-ray of Jurassic Park 4K Blu-ray, are you going back out to buy the 2025 version? And then if you buy that 2025 version, are you going to go back out and buy it again when they do the DTS original sound audio on there for the 2030 release? I'm just curious about how 4K is competing against 4K. And it's getting a bit concerning, because if you're putting your hard-earned money into this format, what point does a collector say, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to go streaming with the rest of it or pirate it? That's where we're starting to push people towards, and that's where the industry is starting to push people towards. If something's coming out on a physical media and people are willing to spend their hard-earned money to get it, maybe put out the best version and stop asking people to re-put money back in. Because believe it or not, if you want to do an updated version, do it on streaming. But honestly, it should be the best version as possible on the disc anyways. And get it, given, yeah, Dolby Vision wasn't big when this was released, I get that. But there really needs to be a question asked about, at what point do we actually put our foot down and say, nope, we're happy with the versions? As I said, I am very happy with my Texas Chainsaw Massacre Turbine Steel one, no Dolby Vision on it. This one came out before the Dolby Vision one. This was the first release on 4K. And, it's the German release, but it's, I've had the English audio on there. And it says it has Dolby Atmos, so it does have Dolby Atmos on there. But I'm very aware that this is good enough for me. I mean, they just scanned the film, put it on the disc, and gave it Dolby Atmos, obviously, but it obviously keeps the 2.0 mono, so, I mean, that's good. That's what I mean about this sort of stuff. At what point do we actually have to say, nope, we've bought it already, stop re-releasing it, or stop holding back features, stop holding back Rocky 5 so you can resell Rocky box set later on, and Rocky Balboa in there, because they'll put out number 5 and then they'll put Rocky Balboa in there so they can sell it again. I get it's a marketing thing, I get it's marketing, but it's just a bit grubby, and you can actually tell where it's coming from. It's because streaming is the future. They're trying to validate, sorry. They're trying to validate why physical media still exists and why physical media can still be profitable. And if people bought Jurassic Park and say, you know what, this is the definitive release, yay. And then they go back and say, okay, well, now that person, Jamie, has Jurassic Park now, why would Jamie need to go and buy this? Oh, remaster it, let's give it Dolby Vision. And then they'll hold back DTS, the original DTS sound, to say, oh, well, he's already got the definitive visual version now. Let's sell him the DTS sound, the one that you can only find on a Laserdisc. Let's put that on a disc, and given that's not going to translate well because, yeah, there's issues with how Laserdisc transfers onto, it's an analog format onto a digital format, but that's questionable. Let's talk about that when we get to that point. But is anything truly definitive on 4K? I mean, 2001 definitely is. Let me just grab 2001 because I'm going to end on 2001. This is what happens when you do it correctly. You get a release like this, which really, this is a definitive way you watch 2001 now. There is no other way that I would prefer this watching this movie. They did it so good that this dwarfs everything else. Like, this makes everything else seem small beside it. The Blu-ray, the DVD, the Laserdisc, everything else does not look as good as this. because they did it right. They didn't do DNR to death. They didn't try to make it look like it was a modern movie. It looked great. And that's the way you experience 2001. Just give me a definitive version of Jurassic Park with all the bells and whistles. Give me a definitive version of Lord of the Rings with all the special features that came out throughout the years. Doesn't care if it's 2003. Label it clearly as 2003. Do a definitive box set. But really, this is my box set now. Even if they remaster it, I've got the DVDs. I can go back and have everything I need. I just don't care too much about this whole dilemma of, oh, well, we screwed up Lord of the Rings so badly, so we'll resell it to all the collectors. We'll get a bit of money out of the collectors when we redo it. Just make up your mind. Give me the best version, and don't assume I'm just going to buy another version of Jurassic Park that doesn't have everything. Like, if it had the DTS on there and the fixed visuals, fine. But then, you know, around the corner, and given everyone said 8K is not coming, but they'll find a way to get more money out of this. If there's going to be a physical media format, they might do 1 terabyte discs and say, oh, well, now we'll just give everything on there, all the special features, 1 disc, Lord of the Rings, all on 1 disc. You know, we're getting to that point now where it's getting a bit ridiculous. And is there really a definitive way to experience something? Let me know down in the comments. I mean, the Beatles, obviously on vinyl. I mean, a lot of people say the Beatles on vinyl in mono. That's the way you experience the Beatles. People actually argue, but, you know, the last albums of the Beatles, no, you want to hear those in stereo. You want to hear them on this format or that format. There is no real definitive way in collecting. And let me just say that. Just because the collector has this version does not mean they're going to not collect the 2025 version. Does not mean they're going to recollect everything else afterwards. I'm personally happy with my 2018 version, really. I don't really need Dolby Vision, honestly. I don't really care for Dolby Vision. I mean, it's great. It adds, I mean, definitely with Jurassic Park you want it, but I don't really care. Watch Julian's video, I'll put it in the end screen, and jump down in the comments, let me know what you think. Peace.